Hey everyone, happy October once again. I am bored now, and today I'm going to be talking about a cult movie called The Town That Dreaded Sundown from 1976. So, this is one of those very early movies that claims that it's a true story. It does the whole spiel about only the characters' names have been changed. So it tries to give it that real air of shock and wonder, and this is a serious deal. So it's a bit similar to how the Texas Chainsaw Massacre claims to be a true story, and how Wolf Creek claims to be based on a true story, and various others. In reality, they're loosely based on a true story. I did a little bit of digging. I think this one is a bit closer to the true story, but it's loosely based on this serial killer who killed in the Texas area in the 40s. So the film is set in the 40s. It was made in the 70s, as I said, 76. And he killed multiple people. The Texarkana killer, or something like that, they call him in the movie. So it's loosely based on that character, or that serial killer. And in the movie, he wears a hood. That sounds familiar, right? And he goes around killing couples. He kills multiple people. He attacks them in the woods. He attacks them kind of like Lover's Lane, that kind of location. And as well as killing multiple people, he tortures and badly maims another couple who become quite big characters in the movie, so we follow them along on their story before they get traumatized and pretty close to death. And we also follow the local sheriff and his team, who are investigating the case and trying to find this serial killer. And throughout the movie, because he's under a hood, you never really learn his identity. So that's the setup. And it also, especially for the time, felt very different. And this is another way they're trying to give it the shock factor and the wow factor of this feels really true and authentic. Is it has a voiceover narration throughout. Well, not throughout, but at certain times, describing the events and like describing the statistics of the serial killer and the story. And it does have a little bit of like a docky drama type feel to it, the way it's produced and shot, and as I said, with the narration. So again, that's to give it this sort of air of authenticity. And this is one I've been trying to see for a little while, because it is known as this kind of cult movie which certain horror fans talk about. It gets referenced in Scream. So it's one of the only movies to get referenced in Scream, which I haven't seen, I don't think. So because it gets referenced in Scream, then it kind of feels like, yes, this is a horror movie to see. It's probably a little bit more obscure and on the cult level than some 70s horror that are better known, but it definitely has a title that you sort of know amongst the horror community. And I think, as I said as well, with the killer having the hood on, it's a very almost like Jason out of Friday the 13th type hood, and him going around stalking people in the woods. You sort of have similar vibes to that character, so you can see the influence on this movie on other movies that followed in the years to come. And I think overall, to sum up the movie, I would say it's pretty solid. I would say it has a very slow start, and I was sort of tuning out of it and not really engaging that much with the characters or what was going on, because there's just a lot of antics quite early on in the movie around the police station. And I think it's just because I didn't really find the characters or the antics that funny or interesting. That's the thing. If the antics were more interesting, then it wouldn't necessarily be a problem, because you have this thing of you build to the killings, or you tease it and then you follow the investigation, and it's that kind of thing. As I said, I think it has almost a true life feel to it, and this kind of ahead of its time of, like, we have now with so much interest in like true life serial killers, true crime podcasts, that kind of thing. So I think this definitely feels quite fresh and ahead of its time. But yeah, the first half of the film did drag. I think once it gets into the horror stuff, it's much better. Like, there's just a lot more to it then, and some of the stuff which the killer puts his victims through, it is pretty traumatizing to watch it. Like, it is quite nasty. It's probably quite tame to when you compare it to some of the stuff which comes later on. But for a 70s movie, and there is just something quite nihilistic and nasty about the way he taunts and tortures a woman at one point. And some of the direction, I think, is quite effective as well. It's like the final big scene, it's sort of this slow motion scene, and it's tracking the killer through the woods as he's being like pursued by the sheriff and his team. And there's this whole suspense on of if they're going to get him in time, and if he escapes, will he kill again? Because there's always that potential, and that's a big part of the drama. So I think once they get into the horror stuff and the pursuit, and when the chase is really on between the sheriff and the killer itself, then I think that's where the film comes alive. I don't think it's amazing. Like I said, there's certain things that puts it ahead of its time, and I think it gives it bonus points for me, because I don't think some of the things it's doing had really been done before, or if they had, not really that often at this point. But it is a bit too slow, and I think you still have one or two cheesy little moments just because of the idea of this guy stalking around the woods in a hood. But the ending is quite effective, and it gets across quite a strong message of, well, what exactly happened with the guy afterwards, because they end up not catching him. But what they do in the film is they kind of read out what is, I'm assuming, the real life facts to the real life case. And they seem to be talking about the different possibilities and the different rumours of, because they're shooting at him, and I think they even hit him once or twice. So this voiceover is speculating about, well, did he die eventually, or did he escape and kill again? Did this happen? Did that happen? So it's doing that thing of, you're never quite sure what happened, because the team involved never got around to actually catching the killer. So similar feel to the Zodiac in that respect. So that stuff was quite well done at the end of the movie. I just don't know if it's an amazing movie. Like, I don't know if I would put it as a 70s classic. But it's a first time watch. If I rewatched it, then maybe I would get even more into it. It's definitely one that's worth ticking off. I know there is a remake from a few years ago, which kind of makes you roll your eyes naturally, like a lot of horror remakes, but I don't really know much about it. I don't really know how different it is or what they changed, so I would definitely be curious to see the remake, and I think I might try and catch up with that and do a review of that on the channel just to compare it. But this original movie is pretty solid and is doing some good things. I think the performances are pretty strong as well. It's just some of the antics early on of the characters were quite, I don't know, quite grating, and they weren't really that interesting. I found some of like the main characters a little bit annoying before we really got into the main thrust of the plot. But yeah, it's a solid time. It's a solid time, and definitely one worth watching if you're a horror fan and if you're just looking to catch up on a cult classic. So I think because it's a first time watch and it was a little slow getting going, I'll give it 6 out of 10. So that's my thoughts on the original version of Town That Dreaded Sundown. Let me know what you guys think of the movie in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. And I'll be back with another horror movie review tomorrow. Plenty of reviews this month on the channel. Plenty of horror themed live streams. You can also support me patreon.com/borednow. And you can become a channel member also. 3 different tiers. I'll link them in this video. But thanks everyone. Keep watching horror movies. And I'll see you again soon.